Clear that rising prosperity does not make people feel more content.
It is quite clear that rising prosperity makes people feel clearly.
This course will examine some of the profound ethical dilemmas.
This course will examine some of the proportional dilemma for this.
Fees are heavily discounted and bursaries are available for delegates.
Fees are heavily disliked and bursaries are available for the delegate.
Students are held accountable for adhering to established community standards.
Students are required to establish communication heavily.
This article covers the who, where and when of the conflict.
This article covers who, when and where the conflict.
Essays should be tight, with double spacing on white paper.
Essays should be tight, double papers on white paper.
The medical centre is located near the supermarket on North Street.
The medical center is near the supermarket of the North Center.
The mismatch between the intended and reported uses of the instrument becomes clear.
The mismatch of the instrument and become clear.
New York City is famous for its ethnic diversity.
New York City is famous for its ethnic diversity.
A periodical is a publication that is issued regularly.
Periodical is a rapid discourse and publicity. There is a beautiful picture in front of me. I have got 40 seconds to talk about this picture. Let me have a closer look at this picture. While having closer look, I can see several variations in this picture. From this picture, I can see sources of funding for higher education in Scotland. From this picture, I can see endowment services, overseas fees, research funding, council grants. From this picture, I can see comparison between bar charts. From this picture, I can see 1994-95, 1997-98, 2001 to 2002. From this picture, I can see several colors and numbers: green, yellow, black, blue, white, purple and other colors. From this picture, I can see several comparison in 2001 is highest and the lowest in 1994. Overall, this picture gives lot of information. There is a beautiful picture in front of me. I have got 40 seconds to talk about this picture. Let me have a closer look at this picture. While having closer look, I can see several variations in this picture. From this picture, I can see comparison between premature and age. From this picture, I can see premature is represented by blue color and age is represented by orange color. From this picture, I can see bar charts comparison between years. From this picture, I can see premature is yellow color and age color is orange color. Overall, this picture gives lot of information regarding 0, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 and 20,000 in retirement, and highest in 2005 and lowest in 1998. Overall, this picture gives lot of information regarding retirement from maintained school by recent England 1999 to 2005. There is a beautiful picture in front of me. I have got 40 seconds to talk about this picture. Let me have a closer look at this picture. While having closer look, I can see several variations in this picture. From this picture, I can see comparison between bar charts, proportion of trips made by Sydney 2004. From this picture, I can see vehicles comparison between 72% and trains, bus and ferry comparison 10% and walk only 17% and other 2%. From this picture, I can see 0 to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 and 80% overall. From this picture, highest number of vehicles in 72% overall. This picture gives lot of information regarding proportion of trips made by Sydney 2004 trains, bus, ferry, walk only and others. Lowest others. There is a beautiful picture in front of me. I have got 40 seconds to talk about this picture. Let me have a closer look at this picture. While having closer look, I can see several variations in this picture. From this picture, I can see table comparison between increase in number of dwellings over past 10 years. From this picture, I can see region in Sydney City, year 2004 and 1994. Dwelling stock increase, number percentage increase. From this picture, I can see it in 1994, 4,004 and 2004, 76,083. 33 increase number 31% 1993 percentage increase in 71%. Overall, this picture gives lot of information regarding comparison between dwellings over past 10 years. There is a beautiful picture in front of me. I have got 40 seconds to talk about this picture. Let me have a closer look at this picture. While having closer look, I can see several variations in this picture. From this picture, I can see comparison between bar charts in evaluation of success rate in Canada 2000 to 2003. From this picture, I can see success rate is represented in 100%. From this picture, I can see 2000, 2001, 2002 and 2003. From this picture, I can see percentage comparison 70, 76, 87.5 and 59.4. From this picture, I can see yellow color and green color comparison between. From this picture, I can see failure and success. Overall, this picture gives lot of information. There is a beautiful picture in front of me. I have got 40 seconds to talk about this picture. Let me have a closer look at this picture. While having closer look, I can see several variations in this picture. From this picture, I can see comparison between primary and secondary average class size in UK school 1994-2006. From this picture, I can see two line charts. From this picture, I can see secondary are lowest and primary is highest. From this picture, I can see incline and decline line chart. From this picture, I can see average class size lower in primary and higher in secondary. From this picture, I can see lower in secondary and highest in primary. Overall, this picture gives lot of information regarding average class size in UK 1994-2006.
Creatures on Earth are made up of cells. I'm not going to dwell on the biology of cells much, but I do want to point out two things. First of all, there are two sources of prokaryotic cells, which is fairly simple, and it's the thing that all bacteria are made of. And then we have a eukaryotic cell, much more complicated than on the right, which didn't appear until well into the history of the biosphere on Earth. And there are many single-cell eukaryotes, but there are also, importantly, multicellular organisms, and all of those are based on the eukaryotic cell.
The given lecture is talk about many different categories it is important in our society. Firstly, we can see that there are some points related to our society. The lecture talks about prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. The lecture talks about cell comparison between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. The lecture talks about eukaryotic cells, prokaryotic cells, many single cells in our lives. From this picture, I can see highest numbers of eukaryotic cells in the body. The lecture talks about in the minute of the hour. In the lecture talks about several things are related to our society. The lecture talks about prokaryotic cells, eukaryotic cells, and consists of these cells. Overall, this lecture gives a lot of information regarding prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells.
Unemployment, lost productivity, and lost contributions to the community are typical and usually uncounted costs of homelessness, and they can be addressed with an integrated strategy. Integrated housing also addresses environmental and sustainability challenges. We incorporate green design principles to create healthier buildings for our residents and staff, limit emissions, and contain energy costs to preserve affordability and reduce the impact of our buildings on the environment. Integrated housing allows a whole community response and the opportunity for mutually beneficial public-private collaborations. Corporate investors match the contributions of government to pay for the acquisition and redevelopment of the Prince George. Corporate investors receive valuable tax credit and other benefits from the federal government and significant marketing benefits for their brand locally. Philanthropy supported the initial program and business planning for the project. Student architects from a local university designed and built an entry floor art gallery for use by community arts organizations. Historic preservation groups assisted with the fundraising for the ballroom restoration. And the restored ballroom is a rental venue used by many organizations for events, training, fundraisers, and the rental proceeds benefits of Common Ground's other supportive housing work, and the jobs created through the caterers are set aside, many of them for our tenants.
The given lecture talks about many different categories related to our society. Firstly, we can see that there are some points related to our society and our things. The lecture talks about unemployment rate. The lecture talks about integrated houses. The lecture talks about public houses, reforestation, affordable houses, responsibility students, reliable house tax, and brand locality students, artification and common art organization, fundraising, many organization, and attachment. The lecture talks about cost solution, corporate benefits, community supports, and homelessness. The lecture talks about different things and other things related to residents, staff, and integrated houses. Overall, this lecture gives a lot of information.
But there's a plant, another dandelion relative, called Achillea, also known as yarrow. And in the Iliad, which is based on events that happened perhaps as much as 2000 BC, Achilles is mentioned as using this herb to heal the wounds of his warriors. So the use of medicinal plants certainly goes back that far. The Romans, of course, used medical herbs, including dandelions. By the time we got to the Middle Ages, dandelions were a well-established medical plant. They were something that was planted in virtually every monastery across Europe. All the many monasteries, Benedictine monasteries, were havens of knowledge, of the classical knowledge of ancient Greeks and Romans, was kept alive in the monasteries. And monasteries, of course, they were where you would go if you were sick, because the monks were the people who knew the ways to use plants to cure people. So dandelions were a very common plant in monastery gardens. Janus leonis is medieval Latin for tooth of the lion. And of course, you can still buy dandelions off the shelf as a medicine to this day.
The given lecture talks about many different categories. Firstly, we can see that there are some points including for important to our society. The lecture talks about plants in dandelion. The lecture talks about dandelion plant. The lecture talks about arena, crop 2000 BC, this earth healed world, Roman use for medicine, medical well-established medicine in other world. The lecture talks about middle age, knowledge, monastery and sick people, weeks. The lecture talks about still by as medicine. The lecture talks about liars and about all the things. The lecture talks about important difference between dandelion and flowers and other things, and acacia. The lecture talks about acacia. Overall, this lecture gives a lot of information regarding acacia and dandelion.
How many times a year is a quarterly journal published?
75. 75.
A lack of which kind of weather causes drought? Dry weather or rainy weather?
Dry weather. Dry weather. Dry weather.
Which is usually considered against the law? The use of illicit drugs or the use of prescription medication?
Use of prescription medication.
When would it be safer to take a medication which causes drowsiness? Before sleeping, driving, or operating machinery?
Before sleeping. Before sleeping.
Which instrument is used to measure variations in temperature?
Thermometer. Thermometer. Thermometer.
When you create a table, the data in the horizontal dimension is organized in rows, and the data in the vertical dimension is organized in what?
Columns. Columns. Columns.
Where is the natural habitat of animals that are classified as aquatic? In the land, in the sea, or in the sky?
In the land. In the land.
Which of the 5 senses are you using if you detect the odor of gas in the laboratory or in your kitchen?
Smell. Smell. Smell.
How many people are in a quartet?
4 people. 4 people. 4 people.
How many legs does a biped have?
2. 2.